Okay, good day, everyone. So, my name is Professor Chris. I will be taking you on this class, Health, Safety, and Environment, Level 1 and 2. This course is also called the Safety Officers course. So, we'll be going through it together, and you'll be required to learn some basic fundamentals about health and safety and environment. Health, safety, and environment is for individuals who are looking at having a career in industries that workers are exposed to hazard. So it's important that you have a certification in HSC level 1 and 2, which is the safety officers course. The HSC 3 is the safety managers course, and there are some other advanced safety programs. But it's wonderful that at least you have this basic understanding. You write your exams and you have your certification. Such certification will help you to gain industrial relevance. You can attach it to your academic qualification for job application or for as a consultant. So let us dive into the class, health, safety, and environment. As you can see on what we have here, health and safety and environment is defined as a management system designed to protect people, properties, and the environment from workplace hazard. It promotes safe working conditions, healthy lifestyle, and sustainable environmental practice. So health, safety, and environment by itself composed of three words, which is health, safety, and environment. In some other forms, it's called health, safety, security, and environment, HSSE. But we are going to limit ourselves in this class to HSE, which is the management system. That means it's a systemic order that is geared towards protection of people, properties, protection of assets, protection of environment. As you know, once an accident happens, it affects people, those on site, off site, affects the property, affects the environment, affect property same as assets, then also affect reputation of the organization. So what an health and safety officer does is to ensure that no accident happens that affects this four factor. So we'll be looking at objective of health and safety. HSC 1 is to protect employee from injuries and illness. 2 is to prevent workplace accidents, safeguard equipment and properties, protect the environment from pollution, ensure compliance with laws and regulation. These are the objective of HSE. You must know this. Why do we practice HSE? 1, to protect employees. We've seen organizations where employees, visitors who are exposed to incidents have sued organizations where they incur injuries and illness from. So companies don't want to be faced with lawsuits. Companies want to ensure that every staff that comes go back better. It is the job of the HSE department to ensure that workplaces are safe, prevent workplace accidents. These are accidents that are tied to the job. There are some jobs that require noise. Noise by itself can cause internal disorder in the hearing. There are some work that requires vibration. When a human is exposed to a level of vibration, it can cause some disorder in his bodily parts. There are some jobs that also exposes the worker to all forms of different from dust, chemicals, illumination, and the rest of them. Your job as a safety person is to ensure that every worker does or carry out his job following the standard operating procedure as laid down, and that can only be gotten from the JHA, which is the job hazard analysis that is performed to identify all hazards in a job. That can be done only by breaking down the jobs into steps and tasks. Then you check for every hazard in every step of the job. We're going to talk about JHA, how to perform it later. So let's look at the other is safeguard equipment and property. I did mention that. Protect the environment. We have the EPA, the Environmental Protection Act. that ensures that every job that is done in a way to ensure that the environment is protected. Today we talk about the greenhouse effect, we talk about the ozone layer depletion, we talk about acid rain, we talk about a lot of CGF and the rest of them. These are impact of industrial activities affecting the environment at large. So for you as the safety environmental officer, these are part of and also ensure compliance with safety laws and regulations. There are laws. Quickly, let's look at the importance of HSE. Importance of HSE. HSE reduces accident and fatality. Accident is an unwanted event, an unwanted occurrence that leads to harm, injury, or losses. Fatality is any event that leads to death. Okay, so once an event happens and it leads to death, it's a fatal and it's a major catastrophic. So, the importance of HSE is to reduce or eliminate, if possible, accident and fatality. Improve productivity. For example, if you are to research on the connection between safety and improved productivity, you should be able to give us statistics and information on how improved safety can improve workers' productivities. And that is one of the functions of HSE itself. Maximize financial losses, promote environmental sustainability, another. Build a positive safety culture. Importance of safety. Quickly, we look at terminologies in health and safety. As a safety professionals, you must be acquainted with the terminologies in safety, words that are used. You must talk like a professional. In accounting, we have terms that you use. People know that, you're an accountant. If you're an engineer, you have terms you use as an engineer. People know you're an engineer. If you're a computer scientist, there are terms you use. If you don't use those terms, people just regard you as a pedestrian or a layman in that field. For safety also, we have terms that you must use. One is safety, environment, health, hazard, risk, exposure. We'll be looking at them and we'll be giving definitions to them. Safety, health. Health is a state of complete physical and mental and social well-being, not merely the absence of accident, but it is the absence of mental and social. It is a state of complete physical and mental. Safety, health does not necessarily mean absence of diseases, but it is a complete state of physical, mental, and social well-being. Safety is the condition of being protected from hazard. It's not the absence of hazard. There's hazard, but you are safe from it. That may cause you injury, illness, and damages. Environment is the surrounding in which people live, where we do our work. That includes the air we breathe, the water we drink, the water around us, land, and the ecosystem. Hazard, a source or situation with the potential to cause harm, including human injury or ill health, damage to properties, damage to environment, and combination of these. Hazard is anything that has the capacity or the potential to cause harm. Water on the floor, the water itself that makes the floor slippery is an hazard. Broken stone on the ground, the broken stone that can cause injury when you step on it is an hazard. Flying stone on the construction site is an hazard. Exposed electrical source is an hazard. So any source or situation that has the potential to cause harm is regarded as hazard. Risk is the likelihood. Another word for likelihood is probability. The likelihood that a hazard will cause injury or damage, and the severity of its consequences. So risk is the likelihood. For example, if you touch an exposed electrical source that is not connected to electricity, is not energized, rather, the risk of being electrocuted is low. But if the electrical source is energized, the risk of being electrocuted is high. So the risk factor in every exposure differs. So let's look at exposure. Exposure by itself is the measurement of time during which one is was open to a particular hazard. We look at the word accident. Accident is an unplanned event resulting in injury, illness, property damage, or environmental harm. Incident is an unplanned, unexpected event that may or may not lead to injury. So there is a difference between accident in safety now and incident. Accident is an unplanned event resulting to injury that will result. But here in incident is it may or may not. So what the difference between accident and incident is that an incident is a combination of accident and near miss. And we'll get to near miss. A near miss is it almost happened, but it did not happen. For example, you are chopping a tomato with a knife and the knife almost cut off your hand, but you're able to just pull off your hand. It's a near miss. A car that is about to hit a person, a passerby, but the person escaped. It's a near miss. A stone that is flying is almost hit your head, but somehow it did not touch your head. It's a near miss. But in safety, we regard a near miss as an accident too. Because if it had not happened to you, there are possibility that it would have happened to someone else. So fatality, I talk death due to work-related incidents or illness, regardless of time between injuries and illness. So someone who suffers from an injury at work and died, regardless of time, someone can suffer from an injury and died 5 years after from the same injury is fatality. Yeah, or immediately. Harm is the result of exposure to hazard, which includes death, includes injury, includes physical or mental ill health. We are going to get to occupational health, where we are going to be discussing the efficacy and the impact of harm to workplace. So near miss, I've explained near miss just now. I said a near miss is an event where no contact of exchange of energy occurred and thus did not result to personal injury. It almost happened, but it did not happen. Let's look at another term, work-restricted case. A work-restricted case is work injury or illness that render an injured person unable to perform all normally assigned work function during a scheduled work shift or being assigned to another job in a temporary or permanent basis on the day before the injury. So somebody who uses his hand to work, for example, got injured in his hand. Such person has not been restricted from using that hand to work because of the injury. It's called restricted work case. You get a telephone attendant who has a hearing impediment, could not use his ear again. So in most cases, staffs who suffer from work restricted cases are either asked to go off work or they are placed on another job that will require other part of their body to function. You see, so work restricted case, we need to understand that. We're going to be looking at incident. I mentioned it. Look at it here now. Incident is accident or near miss together. Risk is measure of likelihood. We have talked about this. Let's move to the next stage. Unsafe act or unsafe condition is a very important factor in safety. These are what leads to accident. Remember, in safety, our aim is to avoid or control accidents, mitigate it. Any act or condition that deviates from a general recognized safe way or specific method of doing a job and increase the potential for an accident. Anything you do that, for example, you are supposed to place a chair away from the corridor and you place the chair in the corridor, is an unsafe act that have led to an unsafe condition. There are some places at workplace that is supposed to be illuminated. Those places are not well illuminated. It's an unsafe condition. So any condition on action that is capable of causing accident is called unsafe act. An unsafe condition. So when you are auditing, there's something called safety audit. What you basically audit is the unsafe act of those working and the unsafe condition where they work. So if you as a safety officer can identify unsafe act and unsafe condition, you would have been able to a large extent curb accident. You will eliminate them, you will isolate them, and accident will be mitigated. Let's look at man hour. Total numbers of hours worked by workers in a workplace over a period of time. Why man hour is important for us? Man hour determines exposure. There's some job that workers should not be exposed to such job for too long. For example, if you're exposed to work in a place where the noise is higher than the normal decibel value for noise is measured by the unit decibel. So if you work in that place for too long, you might have a prolonged hearing impediment. There are some places you don't work. For example, we have people that work in places that are toxic. We call them confined spaces. You see? So we tell you don't need to work here for too long. You do shift because the ergonometric effect and hazard that you're exposed to can really lead to harm for you. We also have safe working load. We'll talk about safe working load, SWL. We have ALAB. ALAB is an acronym as low as reasonably practicable. It refers to a process of reducing the likelihood of occurrence of an accident or incident to the minimum. ALAB as low. There are some accidents, there are some that cannot be eliminated. So you reduce it to as low. For example, if you have a generator, you need to put on a generator to power your house. Noise must come from the generator. The noise by itself is an hazard. It can lead to discomfort, can lead to... So you cannot off it because you need the light. So what you do is you distance the generator from the position. So it reduces or you isolate it, you cover it. So anything you need to do to make sure that you eliminate that noise while you still do your job. So you reduce it as low as what reasonably practicable. And lastly, on this slide, we'll be looking at your PPEs. We're going to continue the next section by talking about PPEs. And before I round up, I just want to talk about PPEs are all equipment, clothing intended to be utilized, which afford protection against one or more risk to health and safety. This includes protection against advanced weather condition. And we can look at the man here who is wearing different PPEs. So we can see it and we can know. So, but in our next class, we're going to start from PPEs. I believe you've enjoyed the class. You would be having assignments to take from this class. So please attend your assignment. Make sure you write down your attendance, and we'll meet you in the next class. Thank you. Bye-bye.